Hey, that's right, guys. Residents in Pima County evacuating or sheltering in place following that acid spill in South Tucson. The crash involved a truck tanker which rolled on its side, releasing this liquid nitric acid. Residents across the city now being directed to turn off their air conditioning to avoid breathing in the chemical. Arizona authorities warn a portion of Interstate 10 will remain closed in both directions this morning. Evacuees are still in the dark about when they'll be able to return home. And it comes following the crisis in East Palestine, Ohio, as the city plans to hold a town hall tonight on the toxic chemical train disaster. Yesterday, Fox News questioned officials on the safety of Ohioans who have returned home.
Look, I think that I would be drinking the bottled water, and I would be continuing to find out what the tests were showing as far as the air.
We have no indication that the municipal water supply is not safe. However, we do have testing that is pending, and I think it's a relatively easy thing to do to use bottled water for a short window of time.
But residents are raising more health concerns, saying they're experiencing symptoms from the toxins. Listen.
As soon as we got into the Ohio line, we immediately smelled the chemicals yet again. And since then, I now have the chemical burns and reaction rash on my face. And my throat is getting irritated again. Issues with our dog, vomiting, acting lethargic.
And despite this, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is responding to the concerns with his safety record. He took to Twitter saying, quote, "We're seeing lots of newfound or renewed interest in our work on rail safety, so I wanted to share more about what we've been doing in this area." His tweet was followed by a chain of others touting infrastructure and regulation policies, but lawmakers are now slamming him for ignoring the issue.
Transportation, Buttigieg ought to be on this. He's been ignoring this. I think it shows he turns his back on middle America when they have a crisis like this. The Department of Transportation needs to have a greater awareness of the risks and of where these hazardous materials are.
Residents are ready to get answers and are hoping to do so tonight at the open town hall, which is set to begin at 7 p.m.
Please, Pittsburgh! Nothing to see here, please!
Today is Wednesday, February 15, 2023. Is Joe Biden's UFO fiasco a psyop to distract you from the real crisis in America? Of course it is. Questions grow surrounding the Ohio train derailment. We'll bring you the new horrors on the ground. Are you drinking fresh water right now, or are you drinking contaminated water right now? We will bring you all of the data to make sure that you are safe. And new emails reveal that Jim Biden landed a $140 million corrupt deal because his brother was, you guessed it, Joe Biden. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Is your brother Joe Biden? Do you have $140 million sitting around from the Saudis? If not, probably not, I hope not, you probably need to save money wherever you can these days in Joe Biden's economy. That's why I encourage you to switch to Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile, a sponsor of this show. Patriot Mobile has emerged as one of the leaders in the parallel economy, and they have big news. Patriot Mobile now offers service on all three major networks. If you hate big tech and woke corporations and you still need reliable cell phone service to watch this show, I encourage you to go to Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider, offering broad nationwide coverage, the best 4G and 5G networks, so you can get the same great service while supporting companies that are not woke garbage. They support your God-given rights and freedoms, freedom to watch this show. We totally encourage you to switch to Patriot Mobile, not just personally, but if you have a company. Our company, our small business, runs on Patriot Mobile. Switching is easy. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny and use their 100% U.S.-based customer service team at 878-PATRIOT. Get free activation today with the offer code BENNY. Make the switch today, patriotmobile.com/Benny. Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on right now is new technology. I would like for you to hop into a time machine with me. Hop on in, okay? Come on with me. Back into ancient history, all right? I'm talking about 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. We're going to get our flux capacitor, our DeLorean. We're going to get ready, get your vests on. Get the plutonium. We're going to go back 2 weeks ago to what the news cycle was before the aliens decided to invade from space on our northern border. There was, of course, an alien invasion on our southern border, still ongoing at that time. It was just criminal aliens and not little green people coming down from space, probably getting kissed directly in the mouth by Jill Biden. She'll literally kiss anything with the pulse. It was a totally different time. In fact, it was such a strange time, such a dangerous time for our current regime that even CNN, of all places, CNN was running hit jobs, hatchet jobs. I mean, we're talking a drive-by here on the Biden regime and their corruptions. This is brutality. This probably wouldn't have gotten clearance to run at Fox News. It would have gotten clearance at Newsmax, but at Fox News, I'm not sure the lawyers would have even allowed this piece to go. Man, CNN did such a number on Joe Biden. We sat with our mouths gaping wide open. This was the top of the news cycle just 2 weeks ago. Watch what CNN did to your boy Joe.
He has built his political career on promises of honesty, hard work, and a pledge that a family name means something.
I give you my word as a Biden. I give you my word as a Biden.
But while Joe Biden swears by his name in politics, his son and two brothers spent years trying to benefit from the Biden name. It's all now the focus of a Republican-led congressional investigation.
We want to know what the Biden administration is trying to hide from the American people and why they are not being transparent.
Republican Congressman James Comer now chairs the House Oversight Committee and has set his sights on Joe Biden's son, Hunter, a mysterious laptop now in the hands of the FBI, and long-held conspiracy theories about President Joe Biden and what he does or doesn't know.
Okay, so why are they talking about conspiracy theories? I mean, it's very interesting and curious watching that clip. Long-held conspiracy theories. Well, CNN, what are those conspiracy theories? CNN went on to illuminate for us exactly what those were by their own reporting, saying that the Biden family is so deeply corrupt, we have to bleep out their words on TV. Watch.
Healthcare entrepreneur Michael Frey told CNN Joe Biden's other brother, James, broke financial promises he made while referencing the Biden name. Frey's company filed a lawsuit alleging fraud by James Biden, who denied the claims. Frey spoke to CNN before the lawsuit settled in 2020.
Everything was on the Biden name, and so we took that to heart.
James Biden was also named in a lawsuit filed in July. He allegedly received about $600,000 in loans in 2018 from a company he worked with, AmeriCorps Health, based upon representations that his last name Biden could open doors and that he could obtain a large investment from the Middle East based on his political connections. The suit states that the investment was never delivered. The lawsuit was settled, though James Biden denied the allegations in court filings. He did not respond to a request for comment.
Oh, so James Biden was straight up saying that because of his last name, he could get huge sums of money from the Middle East. CNN says that didn't happen. It did happen. And we're going to cover it later in the show. Believe that. But before we do, ladies and gentlemen, you have to see the reason for our crisis right now inside of the White House. So that is what CNN is putting on air, okay? Now that is pretty terrifying for a regime that has been trying to cover this up for the better part of a decade, Joe Biden's corruption. Do you know Joe Biden's corruption sunk so deep that the Obama administration started putting out alerts on Hunter Biden's personal banking activity? The Biden administration straight up has an entire dossier inside of the State Department of all of the illegal activities that Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden were engaged in. You can go back, the emails have been FOIA'd. They were like, what is wrong with these people? These people are so sick. They're so dirty. And so when CNN and the corporate press start turning, and when you see Karine Jean-Pierre begin to get question after question after question about the Hunter Biden business dealings and Hunter Biden's laptop, and even James Clapper going back and saying, the laptop's real. CBS News saying the laptop real. CNN doing a prime time investigation on the Biden business dealings. That is a panic button moment. Slap that red button and you got to get the news to talk about something else. And if there's one thing they're extremely good at, it's getting the corporate press, who is their simp, ball gag lapdogs, to talk about what they wish to have them talk about. Okay? Now, one way to get out of a crisis would be to get out in front of it and to make a statement. To go speak for yourself on the issue. To defend yourself, your family, and your business dealings. As Karine Jean-Pierre said yesterday, Joe Biden speaks so well for himself. Watch.
Is it the view of the president's communications team that he is equally adept in all settings in terms of communications, or are there some that played to greater strengths, some where he probably isn't as strong, etc.?
I will tell you this, the president is the best communicator that we have in the White House.
The president's the best communicator that we have in the White House. Now, that's hot off the presses. She said that a couple hours ago, yesterday, at the White House press briefing, not even 24 hours ago. So let's go check in on Joe Biden at the exact same time that she made that statement. I mean, literally, we checked the timestamps. At the same time that Karine Jean-Pierre said that statement from the White House press dais, what was Joe Biden saying? Well, have a look.
Maricopa County, Arizona, we helped build a new bridge over the Holly River. Look, in Warsaw, or excuse me, Washington County in Nevada, we're spending $89 billion to add several lanes to the US 395.
Does that sound like the best communicator? That sounds like a lobotomized chimpanzee. That's what Joe Biden sounds like. It's just not English words. There's no other way to say it. They're not English words. I don't think we have this clip spooled up, but the State of the Union was also last week, and Joe Biden said he's not going to stop anyone from and true international pressure. And then Democrats clapped for it. I mean, it's an incredible clip. We might as well pull it. We'll play it for you in a moment here, ladies and gentlemen. It's incredible. Joe Biden just mumbles straight oatmeal out of his mouth, passes gas, and all of the Democrats clap like lobotomized seals at SeaWorld wanting a fish. It's disgusting. And it is a dead fish, actually, tactic. This is a dead, they are clapping for dead fish, okay? And that is what the media is doing right now as it pertains to this UFO threat. And we were interested in it at first, and now we're starting to see exactly what's going on. They know how they know how bad things were about to get if they let this moment receive absolute maximum media saturation. They would never go back. It would destroy whatever little bit of Joe Biden's term he has left, because they're planning on running Michelle Obama and Hillary Clinton in a joint ticket. I'm telling you. I'm getting a lot of people talking to us. I'm going to go full in on that. I think I'm going to go full in on that. Michelle Obama and Hillary Clinton. And I got some signals as to that's what they're going to do. And so they got to get Joe Biden to at least survive for the next couple of months. And he wasn't going to survive this. So they needed to come up with something to distract you. They needed to come up with something to distract you. And Joe Biden wasn't going to be able to talk his way out of it, as evidenced by the State of the Union.
Make no mistake, if you try anything to raise the cost of precision jobs, I will veto it.
And then everyone, all the time, Kamala Harris jumps up. It's like, hey. Jill Biden LARPing as Alice Cooper, role-playing as Grimace, locking lips with Joe Biden's husband, locking jaws. So gross, so repugnant, these people. But they know that the media will, of course, look like drooling animals at whatever they hang in front of them. And so that's why they've come up with the UFO fraud. Republicans claim White House is fear-mongering over airspace invasions to deflect from problems like Hunter Biden's laptop. Based. Good. Finally, Republicans are straight up saying it. GOP demands Biden address objects that have floated over the U.S. since at least 2017. So here's how you know this is all complete garbage and that they've been waiting for these moments, okay, to distract you. They needed that Chinese balloon. Ladies and gentlemen, they've been tracking that Chinese balloon for the better part of 2 weeks before they told you about it. The U.S. tracked that balloon while it was being inflated at a Walmart in China. I don't think it was inflated at a Walmart. Who knows? They were been tracking that balloon for weeks before they let you know about it. And why'd they let you know about it? Why they suddenly alert you to it at the very peak of Joe Biden's document scandal and Hunter Biden's laptop scandal? I'll let you come to that conclusion. The U.S. knew weeks before, tracked that damn thing in China. You're being psyoped, watch.
There is breaking news tonight on that Chinese spy balloon. CBS News has just learned that U.S. intelligence watched the high-flying airship as it lifted off near China's south coast. That means the U.S. military had been tracking it for nearly a week before it entered U.S. airspace, longer than originally known.
Interesting. Seems like this would be the time for the president to maybe stand in front of the American people and to answer questions about this. because you shot down 4 UFOs, right? You shot down 4 UFOs. Perhaps the president needs to speak about the Sidewinder missiles that are going missing in Michigan. Just an important note on this. They fired multiple Sidewinder missiles at the UFO in Michigan. One of them missed the object. That's $500,000. That's the cost of the missile. The second one hit the object, apparently, and they don't have the debris. They can't show you any of the debris. They can't show you anything that was flying in the sky. They're just shooting millions of dollars worth of munitions at these UFOs for what? Maybe the president could come out and speak about it. Perhaps Karine Jean-Pierre could illuminate for us exactly when will Joe Biden be in front of a microphone and not in front of the next rerun of Matlock playing at 4 p.m. as he dozes off asleep with applesauce dripping from his face after feeding the birds in the park. Go.
For this point, but on the criticism of coming from lawmakers that the president hasn't spoken out more on this, should we expect to hear from him at some point, or is part of the reason that we're not hearing from him because, as you said, people shouldn't be panicking? Is there a concern that the president?
I don't have any announcement or anything to preview on a potential, remarks by the president.
Oh, so the president's not going to talk about the weather balloons that the U.S. allegedly made, that they shot down? In case you're wondering if this entire thing was to distract you, now there's reporting out that what Canada was doing and what America was doing was shooting down their own civilian weather balloons. That's right. So all of the media headlines and all of the hype and all of the breathy people on national TV talking about an alien invasion during the Super Bowl, all of that was to shoot down civilian weather balloons, according to a few reports. And according to the White House, you're asking the wrong questions. Watch.
900, the weather balloons are released around the world from 900 locations twice a day, every single day of the year, including 92 released by the National Weather Service in the U.S. That they fly for at least 2 hours a day, drift as far as 125 miles, and cover and rise up to 100,000 feet above the ground. If it turns out, as it looks like, that the president and Mr. Trudeau sent Top Gun fighters to blow weather balloons out of the sky, does the president regret that, and is he embarrassed by that?
I'm not going to get ahead of what of any final decision. We just don't know yet. We actually just don't know.
Just don't know. We just don't know what we shot out of the sky. We don't know what we shot out of our own damn sky above American citizens in our own airspace. In fact, they fired a Sidewinder missile over Michigan, and they don't know where it went. So they're shooting missiles, apparently at weather balloons that come from America. Inside of the Chinese balloon, there was English writing. Did you know this? Man, they have kept some of this secret. Inside of the Chinese weather balloon, there's writing in English, instructions in English. Were we selling the Chinese the balloons to spy on us with? Ho, don't ask those questions. That's not allowed. So are they shooting down civilian weather balloons in order to scare the public into not paying attention to the real threat? Well, listen to what the White House says this morning. Remember, we need the UFO psyop to continue. The White House says this morning that thousands of objects are in the sky and could be used, it could be lots of balloons. It could be aliens. Who knows? The White House said hundreds, if not thousands, of unknown objects are soaring in the skies. But they are likely used car balloons or other benign craft and not aliens visiting Earth. See what they do there? By stating aliens, they are actually getting you to think aliens. It's like saying, don't think about pink elephants. Don't think about pink elephants. The White House is always and subtly pushing this over the last week, pushing this little alien message. Why? Look up at the skies. Look up at the skies. Don't look down on the earth where we are poisoning your streams and we are poisoning your little communities, your Trump-supporting communities, with vinyl chloride and killing your animals. Don't look at that. Look up. There are no UFOs. This is not an invasion of aliens, the White House Homeland Security Advisor Liz Sherwood said in a briefing with governors after the U.S. military shot down 3 flying objects this weekend. I mean, it's funny, but it's not funny because people are communicating this on all platforms. This widely viewed. But despite Sherwood's assurances, to the elected officials, the government still has been unable to identify the downed objects. So the call to governors Monday, Sherwood said that hundreds, if not thousands of objects are up in the sky. Most are believed to be mundane and could be things like used car lot balloons or aircraft launched by commercial businesses, she added. So then why the hell are you shooting them down? Why are you wasting millions of dollars in taxpayer wartime munitions in order to shoot down these objects? Republican senators are turning up the heat on President Biden in order to address the public and the 4 floating objects that were shot down over the U.S. in a matter of 8 days. They knew what headline they would get. They knew it. And they're lying to you. They're creating fake scandals in order to lie to you, in order to distract you. So you mustn't be distracted. That is the lesson from today's show. Do not be distracted. There you go. That's what Joe Biden shot down over the Yukon. Look, very dangerous, very angry. I think that's one of the bad guys from the second Avenger movie. At the State of the Union, Joe Biden made up a lie on the spot that Republicans were going to defund and eliminate Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and throw every senior over a cliff, right? They're just going to take all the seniors, put them inside of a barge, and then we're going to shove that barge off a cliff. They made a commercial about this. So, again, a lie in order to distract. You must be able to speak Biden. You must be able to speak deep state. I am fluent in deep state. Fluency in deep state means you live inside of a bizarro world, okay? Or maybe they do. Up is down, white is black, the sky is green, and cats and dogs sleeping together, okay? Everything is the opposite of what it actually is. Hunter Biden's laptop is Russian disinformation. Donald Trump colluded with the Russians, not us, literally colluding with the Russians and foreign powers. And, the violent insurrection is a thing that the right wing does. Pay no attention to May 20th of 2020, when leftist militias stormed the freaking White House and tried to kill the president. Yeah. So they create false narratives. This is called the wrap-up smear. You accuse your opponent of doing something horrendous. Then you get someone to print it out. And then you slander them. And this is how you create a news cycle. Joe Biden did this in real time during the State of the Union, and he was destroyed for it, actually. Good on the Republicans. Man, when did Republicans grow a set of balls, get some iron in their spine, get some brass in their knuckles? Good for Republicans. Watch Joe Biden get, absolutely demolished in real time. Memes were created out of this clip. Watch.
Instead of making the wealthy pay their fair share, some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. Let me give you, anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy. I'll give you a copy of the proposal. That means Congress doesn't vote. Well, I'm glad to see you. No, I tell you, I enjoy conversion. You know, it means if Congress doesn't keep the programs the way they are, they'd go away. Other Republicans say, I'm not saying it's a majority of you. I don't even think it's even a significant, but it's being proposed by individuals. I'm not politely not naming them, but it's being proposed by some of you. Look, folks, the idea is that we're not going to be moved into being threatened to default on the debt if we don't respond. Folks.
Mike Lee, Senator Mike Lee there, an absolute legend. I was with Mike Lee, actually, in Orlando this weekend. Mike Lee, we have the video. We have the video of Mike Lee and I doing the meme. It's great. Well done. And Marjorie Taylor Greene. Liar! How did you get it? It's perfect. There you go. We did the meme. Mike Lee going, what the? You're Mormon. You're not allowed to use those kind of words, but they got you, Mike. They got you. Baby, they are trying to distract you so hard. These are the kind of reasons why they sing, for instance, the Black National Anthem at the Super Bowl. They're trying to piss you off. What is more divisive, singing the Black National Anthem before the Super Bowl? Would you allow them to sing a white national anthem? So ask that question. That's why I tell you it's bizarre world. You have to be able to speak deep state. I am fluent in deep state. I've practiced for many years. I lived in Washington, D.C. for 15 years. I am aware of what these people are capable of doing. The Black National Anthem is meant to distract you, to piss you off. They would never allow a white national anthem. And then what they're trying to do is essentially project upon you that our actual real national anthem is the white national anthem, thus making it offensive. This is the degeneracy and the true depravity of these people. They will not stop. They will not stop until this country is destroyed. They want it destroyed. They are neo-Marxists. They do not believe that countries should be founded with equal peoples. They literally adhere to Nazi ideology. They literally want to break people down by culture, subset, minority groups, by their race. It is backwards, evil, unchristian thinking, and we must speak out against it. But this is why they do this kind of stuff to you. This is why they have obese Satan, gyrating at the Grammys on one night, and then old dementia Satan talking at the State of the Union the next night. So they just want you to be distracted. So don't be distracted. Ladies and gentlemen, there are some major, major stories going on in the country today, and we're going to get to them. And also, we're going to be getting to Mike Davis, the greatest attorney in America, arguably. The man who actually crafted Donald Trump's Supreme Court. And he's going to sound off on the new Biden bombshell crime that is dropping today. One of the other things that is dropping is inflation, still red hot. Prices, still red hot. The American dollar being eroded. Perhaps it's time to think about diversifying your investments. How do I diversify? With Allegiance Gold. What if the next crash isn't limited to the stock market and real estate? What if it happens to your finances? What if they impose the digital dollar? Are you prepared? You need to act now and act fast and protect what you have worked for. The value of your privacy and security, these are very, very important. It's tied up in physical assets like physical gold. Allegiance Gold is the highest rated in the industry with an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Allegiance Gold can help you protect your IRA or 401k with physical gold and silver. You can have it delivered securely to your doorsteps, and it's beautiful. It shows up. Get your own gold, you put it in your safe, and you are set and ready to go. They can't make that digital, baby. This is why China right now is hoovering up gold at the highest rate ever, because you need to have something to hedge against an reckless government run by Marxists. Gold and silver are the only assets that provide value against the government. Protect yourself today. Right now, get up to $5,000 in free silver for a qualifying investment when you visit protectwithbenny.com or call 844-66-BENNY. Protectwithbenny.com. Ladies and gentlemen, somebody who has gone, well, I guess gold in the sense that they've been hoovering up gold from corrupt countries around the world, gold and dollars and diamonds. You know, the Chinese gave like Hunter Biden a diamond the size of your fist. It's a $10 million diamond. You can see it on the laptop. These people were dirty. They're dirty people. And now we have the breaking bombshell report about Jim Biden this morning. Jim Biden admitted that he was hired to negotiate with the Saudis over a secret $140 million deal because of his position and relationship with his brother, Joe. It would be instrumental to the deal. A bombshell affidavit claims, man. This is absolute fire. Why? Well, because it, one, ignites the story that they are trying to distract you from. The true story in America is the fact that we are led currently by a criminal cartel. And maybe we always have been. And maybe that's just people waking up to the fact that these people aren't public servants. These people are a public mafia that is intended to, that lives above you and is trying to oppress you and is making sure that you can live a worse and worse life, a degradingly worse and worse life. Do you think you have a better life than your grandparents? Do you think you have more freedom than your grandparents? Are you able to purchase a house with the same amount of ease? Does your dollar mean the same thing as what it meant with your grandparents' age? No. What happens is parasites infest a country and then they take it over and then they slowly degrade. They steal value from the labor of people and they hoover it up to themselves inside of dirty, filthy deals. They control the levers of power, and this is what the Bidens have been doing for the better part of 50 years. Ladies and gentlemen, the reports on this story are absolutely shocking. Have a watch.
It's the latest in a long line of pieces of evidence that show that Joe probably did know what his family members were doing, the foreign business dealings they had. So I've got these documents that one of them is the most interesting one, I think, the affidavit from this former senior Treasury official. He was investigating this case. Jim was trying to negotiate a $140 million settlement between this U.S. company and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And he comes and interviews Jim about it. And Jim is incredibly frank with him. In fact, he boasts about how he only got the job doing this negotiation because he was the then vice president's brother. And he tells him, that over and over again. And then Sarah, Jim's wife, also says how close they are. are. The thing that was really interesting about the timing of this is that they were making these statements in 2017 when Jim and Sarah were involved in a multi-million-dollar deal with the Chinese government-linked oil company CEFC. So if it's true what Sarah says, they're telling each other everything, Jim and Joe, then did he tell them about the Chinese oil deal too?
So let's talk about what this means for Joe Biden. Joe Biden is on the record so many different times screaming at reporters that he's done nothing and never had any involvement with his family's corrupt business dealings. Now, this is plainly and flatly false on its face. Joe Biden has been made a liar many, many times in his career. Joe Biden had to drop out of multiple presidential runs because of his plagiarism problem or his lying problem. Seems like the only true story Joe Biden ever told was about corn pop. But as they look into this and as they find out these revelations, what begins to coalesce is a larger syndicate, a crime syndicate of which Joe Biden is the head, and of which Joe Biden is not only being corrupt, that's just the nature of everything in D.C. Joe Biden is utilizing his government power in order to pressure various institutions around the world in order to make his family rich. Now, we detailed at great length, we spent the entire show talking about how the special activities, the special activities reports from Ukrainian banks into the Biden bank account that were flagged by the Treasury Department, suspicious activity reports flagged by the Treasury Department, would prove that what Joe Biden was doing was he got a crackhead phone call from his son Hunter. He said, there's an investigator that's looking into us, and you got to get this guy fired. And what Joe Biden did was he held up American taxpayer dollars, $1 billion in American taxpayer money, and then he got that man fired. He called, and he used leverage, and he used crime syndicate tactics in order to get that prosecutor fired. That is just on its face the largest government corruption international scandal that we've ever seen in our lifetime. This is now going on time and time and time again in the Biden family, as we are learning. They must not have you learn this. They need Joe Biden to die a very, very, very slow and painful political death here, because this is happening way too fast. It's accelerating way too fast. You are learning way too much about the Bidens way too quickly. They knew this man was corrupt, and they made him president anyway. They knew he had dementia, and they made him president anyway. And they need to try and hold the dam back here. But ladies and gentlemen, it's coming for us. Listen to James Comer on this recent scandal. James Comer, one of the heroes that is emerging right now inside of the Republican Congress, a man who said he's going to investigate Joe Biden for child trafficking and sex trafficking. Good for you. James Comer of Kentucky, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, there were probably a dozen or more countries that they were involved in. The amount of money varies. I mean, that's why we need the bank records to get the exact amount. But I can tell you with confidence, Sean, it was tens of millions of dollars. There are two things every American is going to realize at the conclusion of our investigation. And that's number one, that multiple members of the Biden family were involved in the influence peddling schemes. And number two, most of these big deals were initiated during Joe Biden's term as vice president. Now, the narrative that the defenders in the media are trying to portray on Hunter Biden, now that the laptop has been proven to be real and the evidence on it is legitimate, is that, well, these deals happened just by the president's son, who, by the way, had an addiction problem. And it didn't matter because Joe Biden wasn't in office during this time. That's not true. These deals were initiated while Joe Biden was vice president, and multiple members of the family were involved in this scheme.
So this is James Comer sort of making the thread that Joe Biden is the chairman of this criminal enterprise, and that Joe Biden went around and committed quid pro quos. Remember, the iron law of the deep state is that they will accuse us of doing every single illegal thing that they are currently actively doing. So Donald Trump was impeached for Joe Biden's crimes. Put it on a bumper sticker, write it on your heart, go to bed and say it. Donald Trump was impeached for Joe Biden's crimes. Joe Biden committed the quid pro quo. It's Joe Biden's family that is hoovering up cash all around the world. I mean, if Donald Trump Jr. had received a single ruble from Russia during Donald Trump's tenure in the White House, they'd be in the Guantanamo Bay prison cell on the moon. President Biden's brother was hired to engage in secret negotiations with the Saudi government on behalf of the U.S. construction companies because of his relationship with the vice president, legal documents claim. Jim Biden was selected because Saudi Arabia would not dare stiff the brother of the vice president who would be instrumental in the deal, the bombshell affidavit obtained by the Daily Mail allege. Joe's younger brother, Jim, 73, is at the center of the $140 million settlement negotiation between Hill International and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in 2012. We can put the article up here on screen for you. According to the documents, Jim told former U.S. Treasury official working as a private investigator that he was hired to negotiate with the Saudis because of his position and relationship with Joe Biden, who led delegations to Saudi Arabia at the time. Are you seeing the trend here? Are you following this? Even the leftists in the audience can follow this. Even the people who watched the Grammys and were entertained last week could follow this. Everything that Joe Biden touched, every account that was given to Joe Biden by Barack Obama, the China account, the Ukraine account, the Mideast, every single country that Joe Biden looked over and had power over, his family went in like rats in order to gnaw up and eat the cheese. And then they would use Joe Biden as the heavy because these countries wouldn't dare cross the guy who's brother or son of the vice president. It's pretty obvious. An affidavit from the former Treasury official, Thomas Sullivan, and we've told you many times, it's the Treasury Department where all of the bodies are buried here. This is why the Treasury Department is stonewalling. Get out your subpoenas, Jim Jordan. Interview with Jim Biden about being hired to negotiate with the Saudis. Sullivan claims the president's brother told him, of course the Biden name didn't hurt, and said that Jim's wife, Sarah, who was present, allegedly said that Joe and his brother told each other everything. Biden stated that he was often sent to meetings to represent Hill because, of course, the name didn't hurt, and that the former vice president's brother, or words that effect, he repeated the statement at least twice during the interview. I asked specifically if he had attended the ministry with the Saudis of trade in mid-February to receive the final payment for the work Hill had performed. He answered that to the best of his memory, he had been at such a meeting, and that the reason he attended was because of my position with my brother. Dude, this family is filthy. Is your blood boiling here? It continued. The grift continued even after Joe Biden was done in the vice presidential role. It continues. This breaking news story, this is what they're trying to distract you from. This breaking news story from less than a few hours ago. Secret China donations to the University of Delaware soared after the opening of the Biden Institute. A second university has been found to have received more than $6.7 million in anonymous donations from China, including direct funding from the Chinese government after Joe Biden set up a program there in his name, according to the Government Accountability Institute analysis. The revelation comes following the reporting that anonymous China-linked funds following the University of Pennsylvania almost tripled after the inauguration of the Penn Biden Center. So what the Bidens figured out is that they could use Joe Biden's name inside of American institutions, and these American educational institutions could just be money laundering centers. Money laundering centers. That's how it works. And this is why the left's full-scale absorption and creep inside of academia, inside of the press, inside of Hollywood, this is what it's all set up to protect. This type of graft, this type of corruption. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Biden is a dumb man. If he were smart, he wouldn't have said things like this in public. But unfortunately, he actually literally said the crimes in public that he and his family have committed. He bragged about them. Now, we detailed for you, we spent an entire show detailing for you how a Ukrainian oligarch that was in charge of Burisma, that was being investigated, was paying Hunter Biden absolutely atrocious sums of money. Sums of money that are going to pale to the $85,000 that we know of. This corrupt oligarch needed to have a particular prosecutor fired. His name was Shokin, Victor Shokin. The reason why Hunter Biden was hired was in order to get things like this done. Joe Biden went with no evidence at all that this guy was corrupt to the installed leader of Ukraine at the time. His name was Poroshenko. And Joe Biden then withheld American tax dollars until they fired the guy investigating his son. It's plain as day. Joe Biden should be in shackles for this, but he's dumb enough to brag about it on tape. Go.
I remember going over convincing our team, or others, to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time. Well,
solid means won't investigate my son and won't put him in jail. Solid means won't blow up my corrupt business dealings. And these people, the Bible says that pride cometh before destruction, and their hubris will be their downfall. Chuck Grassley, with an absolute nuclear, tipped, weaponized piece of information yesterday, saying that the FBI has voluminous and impactful evidence with respect to the potential crimes of Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. These disclosures also allege that Joe Biden was aware of all of these crimes and was operating them. Chuck Grassley is an old bull in the Senate. He doesn't move unless he wants to move. He doesn't move unless he needs to move. Chuck Grassley, ladies and gentlemen, saying that the FBI is currently covering up for the Bidens. This from yesterday.
Other whistleblower disclosures to my office make clear that the FBI has within its possession very significant, impactful, and voluminous evidence with respect to potential criminal conduct by Hunter and James Biden. These disclosures also allege that Joe Biden was aware of Hunter Biden's business arrangements and may have been involved in some of them. We still aren't sure what's been done with this information. The FBI's track record doesn't create much faith that the information is going to be followed up on. It's clear to me that the Justice Department and the FBI are suffering from a political infection that, if it's not defeated, will cause the American people no longer to trust these storied institutions. It will also threaten the American way of life. Unfortunately, what you've heard from me, this story of government abuse and political treachery, is scarier than fiction. It really happened.
It's scarier than fiction, ladies and gentlemen. It is incredible to watch Chuck Grassley. He's my senator. I was raised in Iowa. I interned for Chuck Grassley. This is a very old bull in the Senate. These guys were in the Senate before social media. These guys don't say stuff like that against the FBI unless they have the goods, unless they know of which they speak. There's a different brand of politician that's being brought up now, and it's very different. Chuck Grassley is not part of that brand. He's part of the old, salty way of doing things. So Chuck Grassley saying that there is voluminous criminal evidence that is being held by the FBI against the Bidens is the political bombshell of our time. And if you needed a final, and Mike Davis will be joining us in just a moment, if you needed a final bit of evidence that this is something that is going to bring down the entire regime, we cannot play this clip enough. Joe Biden being asked to his face during the Iowa caucuses there in the state that Chuck Grassley represents, during the Iowa caucuses, the year is 2019, and Joe Biden is wanting to run for president. Joe Biden is a deeply unpopular individual. Joe Biden came in 5th in the Iowa caucuses before the Democrat Party decided to rig it against Bernie Sanders for the 4th year. But Joe Biden asked directly to his face, possibly the first and last time, Peter Doocy, right up in his face, shoves that microphone right in there and says, "What do you know about your family's corruptions?" And listen to this venomous liar. Listen to the tone in his voice and listen to what he does. And this will put a perfect bow on this entire show, ladies and gentlemen. How does Joe Biden respond when asked point blank about his crimes that are verifiable, and even the deeply low IQ people at CNN are smart enough to see them. Those dim bulbs shine bright enough for CNN. Watch Joe Biden. Watch his motions here, and you will see the pure evidence of the deepest, darkest corruption our government has ever seen. Watch.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
And so how do you know?
Here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. He is violating every basic norm of a president. You should be asking him the question, why is he on the phone with a foreign leader, trying to intimidate a foreign leader, if that's what happened? That appears what happened. You should be looking at Trump. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum. And he's using the abuse of power and every element of the presidency to try to do something to smear me. Everybody looked at this, and everybody's looked at it and said there's nothing there. Ask the right question.
Mr. Biden, okay, but if you've never spoken to your son,
Can
you
be impeached for this?
Ask the right questions. Man, we cannot play. We want to play that clip every single show. Get it loaded every single show. ALX and Rolls-Royce. We cannot tell you how that 45 seconds right there shows you the entire game. What do you see in that 45 seconds? Joe Biden, criminal, on tape, talking about abusing his power, getting on the phone with foreign leaders. We have the tapes. And then demanding quid pro quos, immediately turns that around and says, Trump did it. You see? The iron law of the deep state, the iron law, accuse them of what you are guilty of. The iron law of the deep state at its old, diseased core, because Joe Biden ain't slick enough anymore. He's just so old and dementia riddled, he just can't get the words out. He's not able to do it so smoothly. And so it's very gravelly, it's very grainy, and he's so unkempt about it. It's so obvious when Joe Biden does it. It's laid bare. And it's brutal to see. Wait, you can see his brain work. No, it's Trump who did it, not me, even though I'm on tape doing it. It's Trump, even though CNN has all the documents and my son's laptop exposes everything. Trump did my crimes. Impeach Trump for my crimes. And then most importantly, and most assuredly, ladies and gentlemen, he looks directly down the barrel of Fox News' camera and Peter Doocy there, who's brave enough to actually ask that man a question. And Peter Doocy, the only person in the press corps who does not have his lips surgically attached to the ass of a Democrat politician and the DNC, Peter Doocy is being told, ask the right questions. This is how much hubris they have. And this is why their downfall is going to be absolutely glorious. And it's going to be brought about by patriots who fight. And there's no one who fights harder than Mike Davis of the Article 3 Project, who joins us now. Mike, I really look forward to you telling me to ask the right questions when you...
I mean, the Bidens are just such sleazeballs. Look at the Trumps. The Trump had a real estate business, and they became very rich before President Trump became the president. Joe Biden has been a politician his entire life. His family business, the Trump family business, is real estate. The Biden family business is corruption. And we have seen smoking gun evidence that Joe Biden has repeatedly sold access to the vice presidency when he was Obama's vice president to make his family very, very rich. Vice President Joe Biden entered the vice presidency broke, and now he's worth tens of millions of dollars. And who's involved with this money, this international influence peddling scheme? His crackhead son Hunter and his sleazeball brother James. I mean, what do the three of these, between Joe, James, and Hunter, what's the collective IQ of those three? Like 30? I mean, what have they ever accomplished in their life other than selling access and influence peddling?
Yeah, probably the IQ is like a very nice room temperature, right? Like collective IQ, like a 75, right?
You're being generous.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, okay. So the show today, Mike, is about like resetting the narrative. Because right before we were talking about UFOs and the Black National Anthem, and everyone's pointing, look up in the sky, like Karine Jean-Pierre with the saucer, right, and the fishing wire. We were CNN was doing in-depth pieces about the Biden family corruption. The New Yorker was coming out, along with the New York Times and the Washington Post, saying this is legitimate and real, and CBS News was doing real reporting. CBS News breaking the Penn Biden Center story, and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not familiar with Mike, you had one of our highest rated shows ever talking about detailing the crimes of the Bidens and how you would go after them in Congress. We know that you're having these conversations with members of Congress. We know that you're very close with the House Weaponization and Oversight Committees. How would you advise them to proceed? What is the best line and the best avenue against the Bidens currently?
Well, you follow the money, and it's very clear that James Comer is over the target in the House when Hunter Biden's lawyers are sending a letter to the House Oversight Committee chairman saying that they don't have a legitimate legislative purpose to investigate Hunter Biden. They're just not going to cooperate with the probe. That's where James Comer just needs to move forward, because he clearly has a legitimate legislative purpose. We have a president of the United States there's evidence that he's clearly compromised because his family took lots of money from Ukrainian and Chinese oligarchs. And oh, wait, where are the two trouble spots in the world right now? They just happen to be in Ukraine and in China. And we have this weak, incompetent buffoon of a president who's compromised by these payments. And that is clearly within Congress's oversight. You can't get more within Congress's oversight responsibility than whether a president is compromised by foreign corruption, including our enemies, dealing with Russia and China. And James Comer is doing a fantastic job. He's off to a running start already in the House. I wish the other House committee chairman would get off TV and actually start doing work, because James Comer is leading the way in the House. Again, running start. So I commend House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer for doing what he's doing. Republicans have known since November 8th they won the House of Representatives. It should not be a surprise when they got handed the gavel in January, and they should have been immediately going forward with their investigations. And so, maybe we need to take off the training wheels at the House Judiciary Committee. Maybe they can send the House Judiciary Committee staffers to get some training over at the House Oversight Committee so they can get moving on this oversight.
And you're talking subpoenas. You're talking like bringing people in for testimonies. You're talking like what they did to Trump for the better part of 4 years, or at least they tried to, and what they absolutely did with the Orwellian January 6th committee.
If they don't have Hunter Biden and James Comer in chairs in front of cameras grilling them about these corrupt foreign dealings, they're not doing their job. And if they get scared away from doing that, if they're cowed, if they're being threatened and intimidated by the Biden White House, the Biden Justice Department, they need to go to court immediately and get a court ruling. Because again, you can't have more relevant oversight than whether the president of the United States is compromised by millions of dollars in payments to his family, a family that are completely incompetent and couldn't. I don't know what the Bidens could sell. I don't think they could run a lemonade stand, but they're making tens of millions of dollars because Hunter all of a sudden became an expert in the geopolitics of Ukraine and China. Between puffing on his crack pipe, he became a PhD in Ukraine and China. So maybe the prostitutes turn the pages in the book for him so he can multitask. But it's unreal that the Bidens have made tens of millions of dollars with Hunter as their front man.
Do not bring Fang Fang into this. She just had her balloon popped, Mike. And come on, she's suffering. So somebody who clearly should be suffering is Hunter Biden under the hot lights. And this guy, he clearly a depraved individual. He shows up in a tuxedo every once in a while at the White House, right, in order to go to these fancy state dinners, in order to get like the PR gloss and patina. Like, don't come after this guy. He's protected. Is he protected? Will Hunter Biden get away with just stonewalling?
He won't. And that's Congress has a lot of leeway when it comes to oversight. Remember, Democrats, when they controlled Congress, they went to court and got some pretty good rulings out of these federal judges. And now Republicans are going to be able to use those rulings to do their appropriate oversight over Biden and his criminal family.
So you're saying that this is going to happen, that the Bannon rule essentially will apply here. and that will there be criminal referrals if they don't show up?
Yeah, I mean, yes. If Hunter Biden absolutely will have to. There's no reason why Hunter Biden could get out of responding to a congressional subpoena. You can't use your dad when he's the vice president and your dad when he's the president to make tens of millions of dollars for himself, his uncle James, and his father Joe, and then think that he can avoid the public scrutiny and congressional oversight when he's clearly selling access. Corruptly selling access to foreign oligarchs, including in China and Ukraine. There's no question that that when James Comer subpoenas Hunter, if Hunter rebuffs that, the House Oversight Committee can go to federal court, and they will certainly get a federal court to rule that Hunter needs to sit in a chair and answer questions from Congress.
Fascinating. And it's so important and imperative to know the legalities of this and the oversight responsibility that Congress has over the executive. People, because of the assumption of power by the president, the wrongful assumption of power by the president over the course of decades, last 100 years, it's totally unconstitutional. Congress should be an oversight over the executive. That's why Congress is Article 1. Am I wrong? The executive is Article 2 in our Constitution. And your old boss is doing a wonderful job, Chuck Grassley, talking about the corruption at the FBI, dropped a bombshell yesterday. We just played the clip for the audience that there is the FBI is sitting on voluminous evidence of the Biden crimes. Could you illuminate for us the real power of Chuck Grassley saying something like that?
Well, I mean, Chuck Grassley has been the king of oversight, congressional oversight, for decades, and he tries to run these in a bipartisan fashion. Democrats stop cooperating, but he's the king of this. And Chuck Grassley is a workhorse. He's not a show horse. And so he's going to be methodical. He's going to put in the hard work. He's going to put in the years of hard work that you need to put in for oversight. He has a huge oversight team that he's taken with him from the Judiciary Committee to the Senate Budget Committee. He's the top Republican on the Senate Budget Committee, the chairman and the ranking member, the Democrat chairman and the Republican ranking member of each one of these committees gets a pretty sizable staff. And Grassley is doing what he's always done, which is have a big oversight staff. They're experienced. They're the best in the business. They're the best in Washington. And they're going to get to the bottom of this. And they don't have subpoena power in the Senate, but they will almost certainly work with James Comer on the House Oversight Committee and the House Weaponization Select Subcommittee and feed them information that they need and help guide these people to get to the right result. And you'll see Grassley's not going to take the credit for it. He'll make other people look good, but you're going to see Grassley's hand behind many of these investigations in the House. And they will get to the bottom of this. Hunter Biden and James Biden will come before Congress and testify. And it could be the end of the Biden regime at that point. Like you said, Ben, even when the liberal reporters are starting to turn on Biden, I always say that Joe Biden was the Democrats' useful idiot, and he's no longer useful. So they're going to turn on him quickly.
Final question for you, Mike. With your connection with Grassley, when he says that he has these whistleblowers, these people are real. Should the FBI be scared? What will be the recourse here?
Well, I mean, if Grassley says he has whistleblowers, he has whistleblowers, and Grassley has been a champion for whistleblowers for decades. He's the one who changed the False Claims Act, amended the False Claims Act. I think it was back in 1986 to make it easier for whistleblowers to come forward, and he absolutely protects them. And these whistleblowers have known this, and that's why they trust Chuck Grassley and his team. And that's why they'll come forward to him, because they know that he's going to protect them. They know that he'll keep their names out of the press, and there won't be retribution against these whistleblowers. And that's how Grassley, that's his tradecraft. He works with whistleblowers to expose corruption. And so if he says he has whistleblowers, I would tell FBI Director Chris Wray to brace yourself.
Yeah, well, Godspeed to Chuck Grassley. Also to you, Mike, where can people find your work?
It's article3project.org, article number 3project.org, and it's at Article 3 Project, at article number 3 Project on Getter, Twitter, Truth. And when I'm not kicked off of social media, my personal is MRDDMIA, MRDDMIA, my initials in Des Moines, Iowa. Thanks for having me on, Ben.
It's on the screen right there, along with Dianne Feinstein, who's retiring, not retiring, retiring, not retiring. I don't know. Who knows? Is there anyone not with dementia on the left? I don't know.
She could
Thanks,
be
Mike.
president. She's going to retire from the Senate and run for president.
Along with Fetterman. Feinstein.
That's
Perfect. Right. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Oh, man, ladies and gentlemen, the hits keep coming for the Biden regime. Footage shows the fiery axle 20 miles before the East Palestine train derailment, raising questions about alert timing. So before this train went plowing through this poor little town in Ohio, which we intend on visiting, by the way, and more on that very soon, apparently you could see the train on fire. Check this out. So that's not good. Why is the train on fire? That's the failing of the brakes, and that's why the train derailed itself. This is, of course, a big problem. This is, of course, overseeing train derailments is Pete Buttigieg. Where exactly is Pete Buttigieg? Well, he's talking about racism on construction sites. He's trying to solve racism on construction sites. Why aren't they talking about this? Why are they trying to distract you from the story? This, of course, should be the story that brings all the environmentalists together. Greta Thunberg should be chaining herself to the railroad track in East Palestine. I may actually help her. This may be the moment where we all together unite with the Sierra Club and with PETA, and we say, you shouldn't be poisoning our drinking water and killing our farm animals. And then poisoning an entire, small community where the average, the average price of a house is less than six figures, and where the median income is $45,000 a year, with a bunch of little small businesses around and little school and little elementary school. What are you doing to these people? This should be the moment where we all unite and say this is wrong. But of course, you hear nothing from the left. Now, why? Why have they called off their very effective attack dogs on the left? Because you don't want Greta Thunberg to show up and chain herself to the whatever thing. Why haven't they executed the full they have this psychopathic army that will do anything for them, like zombies. They're going and throwing soup on paintings inside of museums. So why not stick those people on this major unnatural, man-made disaster that is destroying people's lives? Well, okay, a couple things. One, this is a county that voted 75% for Donald Trump. And then number two, did this train derail because of foreign actors that were attacking our country? Is this going to be like another failed attempt at protecting America by the Biden regime? Is this going to show further incompetence? That's something that questions we really need to ask. How did this happen? We know that there are cyber attacks and major attacks on our infrastructure day in and day out. So what is the Biden administration doing about it? We asked Kash Patel yesterday. Kash Patel saying this has the trade markings of a attack on our infrastructure, and they were going after a specific train that was very, very dangerous. And maybe that's what happened here. Watch.
What they're doing, in my opinion, is getting the intel community together to conjure up an acceptable intelligence report to get to the likes of J.D. Vance and company to say, we are looking at cyber intrusions on a large scale. We can't point to a state actor. They'll delay and kick the football down the road and say, but, we're investigating. The fact that they haven't come out and said it has nothing to do with cyber intrusion. And by the way, from a national security standpoint, our biggest vulnerability are our electric grid systems, which plug into every infrastructure device we have. We call them switches. They run across America and basically make your electricity go on and off and operate literally everything from trains, planes, automobiles, and communities. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was a large-scale infrastructure attack on our electric grid system, which then shuts down train systems, operation systems, police systems, whatever. It impacts everything. It literally impacts everything. And they're our biggest vulnerability because we haven't updated them in a century. And so to me, those are the two most shocking things. And I don't think we're going to see a briefing, of course, nothing from Buttigieg and company on the train derailment or anything else, because I think what they're doing is the same thing they did with the balloon. They didn't come out right away and give us intelligence and information. They didn't even brief Congress on it. They still have just not briefed Congress on it. And we're 10 days into this affair because they are going out and figuring out and plugging together pieces of intel that they can politicize and say, look, we did our job. We may have made a mistake here. Nothing to see here. We'll fix it the next time around.
So this is a massive infrastructure failure, regardless of whether this is a foreign attack on our nation. It is very strange. Something very odd is happening with this train derailment. Everyone is trying to cover up all the people that should be there. FEMA, the EPA, all the psychotic, cultist, environmental activists. No one's showing up. It's very, very peculiar. So we're going to show up, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to bring you some reporting from on the ground in East Palestine very, very soon. F-35s intercept Russian spy plane, fighter jets at the edge of NATO airspace in Central Europe. A pair of F-35s stationed in Northern Europe were dispatched to intercept a trio of Russian warplanes. Also, Russia is sending nuclear-tipped naval vessels into the Pacific. That's not good. That's the first time that's happened since the Cold War. So, great job, everyone. Really fantastic job. Remember, they told you that Donald Trump was going to start World War III. Remember, the iron law of the deep state accused Donald Trump of doing everything that you're about to do. Donald Trump's going to start World War III. And now the Russians are sending nuclear-tipped aircraft and boats into our sovereign waters. Also, something else they definitely need to distract you from. Jeffrey Epstein's documents and little list of clients is going to be released. Did you know this? Of course not. Of course not. Because all the people who run the corporate press are on the list, presumably. The FBI will provide interviews with Jeffrey Epstein in the next couple of months. The FBI's representation says that in April 2023, they are going to drop a load of documents that show what their interviews with the world's #1 predator and also the world's #1 intel operative, most likely for our intelligence agencies, was telling them. Well, that's interesting. There's tons of unanswered questions about Epstein's involvement with the FBI, and we hope that these records will provide some answers, according to Zero Hedge. The FBI has fought the disclosure of these records, necessitating the filing of our lawsuit. Good. We won't overpromise or guarantee that these documents might reveal until we get our hands on the documents. There's a ton of questions such as, will the FBI improperly redact the interviews, or will the FBI refuse to release all of their Epstein interviews? We'll see. There is a Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, John Doe issue here. That is the little client list of Jeffrey Epstein. There's more on the Epstein front. A federal judge in New York, Southern District, is currently considering whether to disclose the names of John Does arising out of the Virginia Guffrey Ghislaine Maxwell lawsuit. Sadly, reporting from the media has created a lot of false hopes of whose names might be unsealed. This isn't Epstein's list, according to this author. Let me lay down what we know about these individuals. There are approximately 165 individuals on Epstein's client list. These are not all the perpetrators. The vast majority are witnesses in varying degrees, employees of Epstein's or affiliates of Epstein's, the victims. The term affiliate ranges for those in Epstein's address book and doctors' acquaintances of the victims. So this is not the victims list, right? These are not the criminals list. I think we're going to need another administration in order to get that list. They figured out Jeffrey Epstein was a threat to the system real fast, and then did away with him real fast, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure that you have your affairs in order. Make sure that you are focusing on what is true and what is right. Make sure that you are not some type of criminal running a massive island-based psyop for our intelligence agencies. That's what people say about Jeffrey Epstein, right? That he was an intelligence asset. That there were cameras all over the island, his little St. James Island. And he would bring all these rich people in there, and then he'd get all this footage of them. And then these rich people would have to go woke and do what the deep state wants because, well, they have footage of them doing unspeakable things, illegal things. And so that Jeffrey Epstein himself was just the world's biggest honeypot. And this is how you're able to get Bill Gates, or you're able to get Bill Clinton to do whatever you want, right? Is you have leverage over them. It's a criminal enterprise. It's a criminal enterprise. And if you're going to fight it, you're going to need to have clarity. You're going to need to make sure that you have your verse of the day handy. We always have the verse of the day here. From the good word, be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Fret not yourself over the one who prospers in his way, over the man who carries out evil devices. Whew. Is that ever perfect? From Psalms today. Fret not about the people who are evil and who prospers in evil ways. What an entire show on prospering in evil ways. Isn't it amazing how these scriptures that were written thousands of years ago tie in perfectly to the depravity of human nature that we talk about in the show every single time? Wait patiently on the Lord. Be still. And the Lord, he's got us, baby. Always has. Always has. And that's how we center our lives. It's how we center ourselves on this show. God, family, country. And we thank you for centering your life that way. That's the way to center your life. That's stuff that's worth fighting for. And we're fighting right alongside you. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. See ya!